are the possible places that it could be. Let's identify them by type. Let's identify how many of each type there are. And then what are the logical issues that would possibly fall into Lauren's mind when she hit this dollar bill / bomb, which is in the dollar bill case, she might be looking for a place that would be difficult to find, or she might be looking for a place that's easy to find. Break down logically everything that could go through that person's mind, convenient versus not convenient, nooks, the presence or absence of, places to tuck things. The point, it's a crappy example, I couldn't think of a better example. But the point is that this is just a logic tree, all right? If you've ever seen these, it doesn't have anything to do with the intuition behind it. You're not running into any hypotheses yet. It's just breaking down all the possible factors that could go into the problem. So in terms of profitability, you've probably seen this. If it's a profitability issue, there's either two things going wrong. If their profitability is decreasing, you've got a revenue issue, you've got a cost issue. The third thing is you've got both going on, right? That's the start of a big logic tree, right? So the point is that, and for the one person that's going to McKinsey, I've heard you'll run across this a lot, which is it's got to be mutually exclusive, right? These different branches of the logic tree. So they don't overlap with one another, and they're going to be comprehensively exhaustive, meaning that you put down everything you can think of, right? Then, develop a hypothesis. So based on our intuition, based on our information that we have developed to date, where's the most likely path? The revenue and cost? Is it convenience for me? What are the most likely paths to go down? Once you've done this, you can identify what are the principal questions we need to answer to make sure, to determine whether or not this is the case, right? Then those big questions, you develop lots of little questions underneath them. And those little questions, you'll answer with analysis. So once you get all the answers to the little questions, you'll answer the big question, and once you answer the big question, you'll be able to prove or disprove your hypothesis. So that's the way that you can approach ambiguous issues or problems like this. So the why you do this is, again, because you're time constrained, and B, because you might have two problems. One is that your client gives you a lot of data, and the other is that the client gives you too little data, and both suck. But you're not going to get the client that gives you just the right amount of data. But no. So if you get too much data, you might have the impulse of like, let's analyze it, all of it, like I can format this, I can do stuff with it. You might be wasting your time, because it might be going down a branch that you really don't think is probable. You need to focus on what's going to prove or disprove your hypothesis and get to that. And if it's wrong, you need to develop a new hypothesis, go back to the beginning based on that new information. The other is that your client doesn't have any information to give you, which is in some ways even worse, in some ways better, because that means you have to actually go out and collect the information, right? And if you go out and collect the information, you're collecting the wrong information for something that isn't even probable for a hypothesis that is even likely, then you're, again, wasting time. And with only 3 to 4 weeks, you don't have a lot of time to waste, because everything that you do for your client, you're not doing something else that you could be doing. There's an opportunity cost to the actions that you take. And because of that, if you don't do this, you can be really wasting the opportunity to create a lot of value for your client. Does this make sense? All right, using data, just some little constraints and advice that you might get based on our experience with nonprofit clients is that if you're in the client has a lot of data boat, sometimes you'll get the data in a totally unusable format. So you might have heard the term data cleansing or have done data cleansing before. Data cleansing is normal, and data cleansing has nothing to do with the format of the information, so don't try and fool yourself into thinking this is normal and it's data cleansing, because it's not. It's putting it in a format that's even usable for analysis. They might give it to you on pieces of paper, and then you have to type it into an Excel, or some kind of database, like Oracle. You might need to do that work in order to analyze it. But the real key question there is, why don't they have it in a format that's able to, be used for analysis, and have that be an area that you think about in terms of their resources and constraints and your ability to actually implement, and the fact that is there a way for them to easily kind of put something in place where they're collecting it in a way that won't need this additional formatting on the back end, because the formatting on the back end will always prevent them from doing this themselves. And anything, your key goal is to leave your client in the position where they can implement your recommendations and move forward as an organization to grow with internal capabilities that it already has, right? So that they cannot rely on University of Pennsylvania undergraduates coming in to format their data for them in order to analyze it. If it's not in a format for analyzing, it means that they're not analyzing it at all. And if they have the capability to do some basic analyses on it, you need to start thinking about both tangential. You've identified it as an issue. You should give it to them in appendix in terms of this is how if you're setting out these surveys, this is how you should be setting out the surveys and collecting your data, because it's going to save you all this time on the back end. You'll be able to get these insights. So the second point is garbage in, garbage out. Understand the biases of the data that you collect, and understand your sampling and response biases for surveys. You guys, some of you might be doing surveys, customer-oriented surveys. I made an assumption there based on how you approach the scopes that you have outlined, but you're sampling. Basically, the idea here is just think about all of your. Oh, there we go. Just remember that what you're really concerned with is not data; it's the reality of the situation, right? And the only way that you can look through it, look at that reality, engage reality, is by looking at through these different lenses of data. And the data was collected by a specific person, for a specific person in a certain way, for a specific purpose in a certain way. And as a result, these lenses of data are going to distort the reality, the picture of reality. And you need to understand the biases of these lenses and why they were collected the way they were and what they were collected for in order to correctly interpret the results of your analyses with regard to reality. And part of how you can do that realistically, given the data that you might be getting in, is to be able to be sure to perform sensitivity analysis, always perform sensitivity analysis on your results that you get, because this is where you try and identify, well, we plug this into a model, or we use this data source, but I think that data source might be optimistic because it was developed for a grant application. So they might have been understating their cost base or overstating their cost base, depending on what you think their motivation was. As a result, let's run some sensitivity analyses to see if I were to change that one metric that I'm not sure about, how much does that impact our overall result? And if it impacts it a lot, this is something you have to heavily caveat when you present it to your client, and to show how impacting that can change the result dramatically. Does this make sense? And I don't know what you guys have learned, what you haven't learned, so I'm sorry if this is redundant with what you already know. And again, quantify whenever possible, because if clients hear something can save them X amount of money, it's just more tangible, they'll work harder at it, it will motivate them more than hearing that it will save them some money, a lot of money, it will save you money. Like, it's just, it's something that they can report to their superiors, they can report to their donors, put in grant applications, etc. Identifying key measures for tracking will be key to ensure that it's able to be implemented over time. And then using data, understanding that data is not only a source of the information about which it's collected, but also understanding that the organization's collecting data, that's where it's putting their energy behind, and that shows that they're very committed to whatever that particular area is. So if they're doing customer surveys, it means that they really, really have already put a lot of resources behind it. You can be more likely to give them a recommendation surrounding customers and feel better about it being actually implemented because they've shown that this is a priority through their actions, as opposed to just their kind of what we want to do, their mission statements. You know, it's like looking at organizations and saying we're environmentally friendly, but then you look at what they actually do, and what they actually do can allow you to prioritize who actually cares about the environment and who doesn't, right? Because everyone's going to say they care about their client base, but some of them are actually going to collect data on it, and some of them aren't. So the last thing I just wanted to say was, in terms of achieving community impact,